The arrival of matter. Welcome back to Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. With us is Mark Tekippe, Vice President of Product at Samsung SmartThings and Connectivity Standards Alliance board member. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Fred. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for being here. Well, for people who may not have heard of this before, give us the overview of what Matter is all about.
Sure. So Matter is an open standard. It was introduced by the Connectivity Standards Alliance, or CSA, and it's an industry initiative that started really 3 years ago. The smart home has been fragmented for many years, and because of that, it's been kind of a big barrier for mainstream consumers to use and adopt the technologies in their homes. And so the CSA membership, over 500 member companies, have been working together to bring this standard for interoperability, which will simplify the entire life cycle of smart home from purchase to getting it set up, making sure that it's secure. So it's a new standard, and it's basically a symbol that will ensure that products are working together across brands, ecosystems, and many different device types.
And you have now launched Matter functionality with SmartThings, becoming one of the first, I guess, to receive certification. What does that mean? What should your customers know?
Yeah, that's right. Actually, just this week, on Monday, we released our full software update for both of our Android app as well as our SmartThings hubs. These are in many consumers' homes today who are using smart home technologies. And what this means is that our existing customers will be able to, with this over-the-air update, add support for this new Matter standard to their existing smart home setups. So we maintain support for their existing smart home setups while also future-proofing and adding support for Matter.
So no new hardware needed for consumers?
That's right. Yeah, people that are using our existing hubs today will just have a software update and they'll be able to purchase new Matter devices and connect them. And then we also are working to bring both the SmartThings hub software as well as Matter to new hardware platforms in the future. That way, they'll be built into products that everyday consumers use every day, things like TVs, refrigerators, so they'll be able to control Matter devices from those Samsung products.
And SmartThings early on was really a pioneer in trying to work with a wide variety of companies and hardware out there, right?
Yeah, that's right. SmartThings started its journey 10 years ago as one of the first, entrants in the smart home space, and we've always been an open platform. We've always had one of the most flexible, versatile platforms with support for a lot of different wireless protocols, things like Zigbee and Z-Wave, and we've had a robust developer community. So we've always kind of prided ourselves for kind of being that open, flexible platform that connects all these different brands. So Matter is really directionally aligned with what we've always been working towards. And what it brings to the table now for SmartThings is it expands that across the entire smart home industry. And so, consumers now will have the choice to mix and match brands of their choice, different ecosystems that they can use together in their home. So it's really, the same direction that we've always been going. It's just at a bigger scale for the industry. And we think it's going to unlock smart home adoption for the mass market consumer, whereas historically it's been kind of more limited to the kind of early adopter, more tech savvy users.
Now, step us through what the consumer experience is going to be like here. People tend to have, I guess they've been buying different brands for a while of smart home gear, the ones who are interested in it. Mm-hmm. So how is this going to work for them? What will they need to do?
Sure. Well, I think it's important to look at kind of what it was like in the past, right? If you were a consumer interested in smart home, you would go out, and the shopping experience was a little bit challenging because you weren't guaranteed that everything would work together, right? And so if you wanted to buy a smart doorbell, you'd have to pay close attention to what systems that would work with, right? And if you wanted to add things like smart plugs or smart lighting, you had to, really think in advance on like what products and brands you wanted to bring home and whether those would all actually work together when you got there. And, in the past, it's resulted in a lot of frustration because consumers would buy products and they'd bring them home and potentially they wouldn't work and they'd have to return them back to the store. So if you look at what Matter is going to bring to the table, as consumers become more educated about what Matter means, they'll be able to look for the Matter mark and have confidence that when they bring that product home, it's going to work with all of the leading ecosystems and all of the other products that support Matter. So it definitely is going to simplify the initial upfront experience of purchasing. But then when they bring the product home, it's also going to simplify the device setup experience. In the past, because it's been fragmented, there were a lot of different proprietary ways of onboarding new devices, right? And so Matter is going to standardize and simplify the onboarding experience. So regardless of what ecosystem you're starting with, whether that's SmartThings or another ecosystem, or which brand you're working with, you'll have a consistent flow that you use. And so it'll become sort of second nature. The same way that consumers understand what Bluetooth means today or Wi-Fi, we believe Matter is going to become the de facto standard for smart home connectivity in the home. And so when people see that mark, they're going to know what it means. They're going to know how to buy it and how to set it up.
And they'll be able to use the app of their choice, whether it's SmartThings or a different app, to control all of this, or how does that come together?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so any app that's certified as a Matter controller that goes through the CSA certification process will be able to control Matter devices. And that could be an app running on a smartphone. It could also be an app running on other smart products. Like I mentioned, in the future, we'll be introducing Matter controller functionality to things like Samsung TVs or Family Hub refrigerators that have a display. The other unique thing about Matter is that it's going to allow control of Matter devices from multiple administrators or multiple controllers or apps. So, consumers will be able to pick the app of their choice or multiple apps, right? And so you could imagine a household that maybe has two different brands of mobile phones, right? Maybe one based on Android and another one. And this would allow that family to control their devices from multiple different platforms. So that's a big difference from the past where you were kind of more tied into one ecosystem.
And I suppose it could open the door for new devices as well for controlling things that will make life easy, whether it's screens or whatever.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of different ways to control devices, whether it's through mobile phones, whether it's different displays or voice, what have you. And so, yeah, I think by standardizing the connectivity layer and the language that devices use to speak with each other, it really opens up the door for like a huge ecosystem of devices and different displays and surfaces to communicate with each other.
And you are early in getting certified here. How long do you think it will be before the bulk of these companies are certified and ready to go with this?
Yeah, well, there's been a huge amount of companies working on the standard over the last 3 years. In the SmartThings, we launched an early access program where we were working with leading device manufacturers to basically pre-test their products and devices with Samsung SmartThings. And we've got quite a few companies involved in that, and many of them are going through their own product certifications. I would expect that the certification program just opened up at the beginning of this month. And so I think you're going to start to see announcements, in the coming weeks, months, and really as we get into next year, I think you'll really start seeing Matter devices come to market and show up on shelves. It's going to be a slow start, but I think it's going to happen pretty quickly, and there's just a huge amount of interest and momentum here. So yeah, it's coming for sure, and stay tuned.
Terrific. A lot to be excited about. Is there a place people can go to for more info?
Absolutely. We have information on the SmartThings website, as well as the CSA Connectivity Standards Alliance website. There's a lot of resources available that talk about what Matter is, and walk through kind of the whole value proposition, not only for consumers, but also for retailers and for device makers themselves.
And you alluded to it before, finally, this could have a pretty big impact on the number of people who get into all of the smart home and home automation stuff.
Yeah, I think this really has the opportunity to it kind of puts the technology in the background and really allows the industry to focus on experiences. And I think it's going to raise smart home from the early adopter to the mass market consumer. So this stuff is, consumers already, in a recent study I read, the average US household has around 25 connected products. And I think with Matter reducing the friction points and barriers of entry, we're going to see that number explode in the coming years. Yeah, and so it's going to be huge. And one analogy I like to point out is like, remember the early days of the internet, right? Things were very fragmented. You had these kind of various web browsers and like locked into certain parts of the internet, right? And like, look what's happened in even the last 10 to 20 years. Like there's applications and things that we never could have imagined, right? And I think we're going to see the same thing in the smart home. So Matter's creating that foundation that we're all as an industry going to build on top of, and it's going to, reach everybody.
Well, congratulations on your role and Samsung's role in helping to make this happen. Mark Tekippe, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Sure. Thanks, Fred. Appreciate it.